Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's disc review, we are looking at the Range from Streamline discs. So the Range's MVP's first crack at a Berg-like negative flight plate mold, and no surprises, it is under the Streamline banner as it would be extremely difficult to accomplish this as an overmold, but still I would like to see if MVP is able to do it. So first things first, yes, it has that Berg-like thumb track. Under the rim is pretty rounded in a fairly blunt nose, but compared to the Berg, as you can see, the Berg does still have a blunter nose versus the Range is a little more rounded. Also, it's worth noting that the Berg does stand a little bit taller than the Range. Additionally, worth noting, when it comes to that thumb track, the Berg's is a little bit deeper than the Range's, which is a little bit more shallow, not nearly as indented. Now, for the plastics themselves, the Cosmic Neutron has good flexibility, good grip to it, but not extremely flexible. Nothing like this soft Proton that came out, which this thing can basically be used as a taco. But that also means for those of you who play in a lot of cold weather disc golf, this is perfect for it. Now, the one thing I will say that I like about the Range is that it feels so rounded in the hand. It feels so incredibly comfortable because of how rounded all the edges are, particularly underneath. But then additionally, it feels good for forehand because this is not an extremely deep putter by any means. Now for the flight, starting flight numbers: speed 2, glide 1, turn -0.5, and a fade of 0.5. So at least by the numbers, this should be a very neutral putter. Let's get out to the field and see if that holds true. I'm not gonna lie, the Range is not designed for hyzers. In fact, even just to get it to hold any kind of hyzer, I have to throw it extremely steep like this and honestly take a little bit off. Like, I'm only throwing those hyzers at about 75% and on that steep angle just to get it to hold the hyzer. Now, when you throw it on a slight hyzer, you can kind of see what I mean by it doesn't really work for hyzers. It's on that hyzer line, like it wants to hyzer, but it just keeps pushing forward the entire time. It really never wants to really hyzer out. It just kind of keeps a forward push while being on a hyzer angle. Even when throwing flat, this thing is incredibly straight. Just rip into it hard. It has good torque resistance in the fact that it's going to keep itself level. It's not going to turn over into a roller. It may still get a bit of like a panning turn. However, it is going to resist fully turning over. It's just going to keep a nice level plane, which is great because that also means that when it hits next to the target, it is also going to hold a nice straight flight. So when it hits, it'll hit flat. So you'll never have to worry about any big flares or rollaways. One aspect I love about the Range is once you do start getting it on those anhyzer lines, all it wants to do is hold those lines. Again, it has enough torque resistance where it's not going to turn over into a roller. It's just going to keep that nice level plane, which makes it great for those straight to slightly understable shots. When it comes to forehand, this is going to be more of a finesse disc. You're not going to want to use a lot of arm, you're going to want to use just a lot of wrist, and it's great for those slight hyzer pop-ups where you throw it on a little bit of hyzer, pops up to flat, and then it'll hold, again, just a really nice straight line with very minimal turn or fade. Now, out on the course, as I mentioned, this is not great for hyzers. You're not going to get really big sweeping hyzers. Even when you throw this up high, again, it's just going to be more like an elevator. It's just going to come straight down as it slows down. So that really begs the question, what is the Range good for? Well, the Range is great for hitting tunnels. It's great for hitting gaps with those really just straight shots where you're almost going to get very little to no turn and very little to no fade. So if you play a lot in the woods, this is going to be your best friend for those straight shots. It's also good when you do throw it with just maybe the slightest of an anhyzer line. It's going to just hold those nice gentle panning turns without turning over and also without hyzering back. And then once you do put it on an anhyzer line, I mean, it's just going to hold that angle of release. Again, flat to anhyzer, it holds that angle extremely well. And for forehand, I love those just kind of throw in a little bit of hyzer, let it pop up, and then just let it carry straight towards the target. I guess it's also worth noting that the range has absolutely no glide whatsoever, so you don't have to worry about this thing ever blowing past the basket. So for the plastic types, it comes in this Cosmic Neutron, regular Neutron, and this soft Proton. Unfortunately, I didn't have one of the stock Neutron runs, I apologize about this, but this soft Proton run, wow, this thing is incredible. I wouldn't necessarily it has more fight at the end of the flight, but it definitely has more torque resistance earlier in the flight, so for those bigger arms, or if you really want to rip into this, the soft Proton is probably for you. If you're finding that the Cosmic Neutron is just a little bit too on the slightly understable side, give the soft Proton a try, because as you can see here with the lefty lines, I started out and it just basically auto corrects itself to straight, and then it just has the babiest of hyzer at the very end, and I did throw these compared to the Berg. So the Cosmic Neutron of all of these is the straightest. It's also the best for beginners because you can get a little bit of flip up. It's definitely a bit more workable. The soft Proton is going to be more for the bigger arms. This can handle a bit more power, a bit more torque, while keeping its very straight flight. And then you have the Berg, which to me in this K1 Plastic has a similar amount of torque resistance as the soft Proton range, but it also has a little bit of a harsher finish. I was consistently getting a harder finish out of the Berg than with either of the ranges that I was trying. Alright, well thank you all so much for watching. Overall, I love the range. This is so good. I play in a lot of wooded courses, so this is absolutely incredible for hitting those kind of awkward wooded lines because of how many different lines you can put this on, at least in that straight to understable side of things. And also because it has no glide, I don't have to worry about this thing really going anywhere. It just hits and sits. Well, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Until the next time, keep banging chains.
Thank you.